You know the drill, right? You see that huge wall of text, you scroll, you tick that little box, you click I agree. We all do it. It feels like just another step, but what if it's actually the biggest lie we accept like every single day? Let's dig in and find out.
No, seriously, just take a second. How many times have you done that this week? Twice? 5 times? Probably more than you think. And here's the kicker. Every single one of those clicks is a legally binding contract. And the analysis we're going to walk through argues that you're not just saying yes to using an app. Oh no, you're often agreeing to a whole system that's specifically designed to take away your rights.
And that brings us to this quote from our source, forcing people to pay them to steal. Wow, that really gets to the heart of the argument here, doesn't it? The whole idea is that these agreements, they've stopped being about a fair deal. Instead, they've become tools for what you could call digital theft, where companies take your data, your content, even your right to fight back, and you're the one left holding all the risk.
So look, this isn't about just one bad apple, right? Or one terribly written contract. The research we're looking at suggests this is a systemic problem. It's a deliberate business model. And for our purposes, we're going to call it digital predation. It's this calculated strategy that you can see playing out all across the digital world.
Okay, so let's be super clear about what that means. Digital contract predation. This isn't just a bunch of fancy legal words. It's about companies systematically using these one-sided contracts to strip you of your rights and your assets. We're talking your data, your creative work, your money, all of that, while they take on basically zero risk, even if their service completely fails.
So, to really see how this works in the wild, the analysis dug into the agreements from 4 pretty different companies. You've got American Cloud for hosting, Scribd for digital reading, the content platform xHamster, and a tech services firm called Nest Technologies. And what's wild is what they found. It was like they were all working from the same playbook of predatory tactics, even though they're in totally different industries.
So, what's in this playbook? How exactly do they turn a simple I agree into, well, a weapon? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual tactics they use.
Okay, now this table is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the pattern plain as day. Just look at the rows. The same kind of tactics, capping their own liability, setting up these justice traps, grabbing your assets, and just taking total control, they show up over and over again. Let's break down a few of the craziest examples.
Think about it. You sign up for a service because you expect it to, work. That's the promise. But then you look at the reality in the fine print. Nest Technologies' contract says their service is provided as is, where is, and as available. That's basically legal speak for if it breaks, tough luck. It's your problem, not ours.
So, what happens if their service does fail and you lose data or money? What's their financial responsibility? Well, get this. Scribd caps their liability at $100. xHamster, just €10. And Nest, your only option is to quit the service. So their failure costs them practically nothing, while you could lose absolutely everything.
And here's one of the most modern and kind of scary ways they grab your assets. The analysis calls it AI serfdom. Platforms like xHamster and Scribd write into their terms that they have a forever, no takebacks, royalty-free license to use your content, your writing, your videos, whatever, to train their commercial AI models. Let that sink in. You are providing the raw material for their multi-billion-dollar AI asset, and you get absolutely nothing for it.
This is just incredible. This is how they basically hold your data hostage. American Cloud's contract gives you just 7 days. 7 days! After you terminate your contract to get all of your data out before they can just delete it forever. For any real business, moving your entire digital infrastructure in a week it's pretty much impossible. So it forces you to either stay with them or risk losing one of your most critical assets.
And it's not just data they can take your money too. The xHamster agreement has something called liquidated damages. Think of them as just arbitrary fines. They can hit you with a fine up to €5,000 for violations that are super vague. And the best part? They can just take that money right out of your earnings. No due process, no questions asked.
All right, so you've been wronged and you want to sue? Well, good luck with that. American Cloud forces you into binding arbitration in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Now, why Doylestown? It's not where their servers are, it's where their lawyers are. It's a classic venue trap, and it's designed to make it so expensive and so annoying for you to seek justice that you'll probably just give up.
And hey, if you do decide to push forward, you better move fast. Both American Cloud and Scribd put a ticking clock on you. You have just 1 year to file a claim. That's an incredibly short window. Your time could run out before you even figure out how bad the damage really is. Now this one from Scrid is next level clever and pretty cynical. They have what's called a mass arbitration defense. So if a whole bunch of users get together to file for arbitration, Scrib's rules say they'll only process the claims in tiny batches of 10. You can see what this does, right? It's a procedural roadblock designed to delay justice for years, maybe indefinitely. It makes any kind of large-scale action from customers basically impossible.
Okay, so it's one thing to point out how broken all this is, but the analysis doesn't just stop there. It actually proposes a solution, a legislative framework, basically a digital bill of rights that's designed to bring some fairness back into the equation and rebalance the scales.
This blueprint is built on 4 core pillars. First, make contracts fair and easy to understand. Second, protect your assets, your data, and your intellectual property. Third, bring back due process and accountability. And fourth, put an end to this one-sided corporate power.
So what does that actually look like? Well, instead of that insane 7-day window to get your data, you'd have a mandatory 90 days. A company couldn't just use your content to train their AI without you explicitly opting in. And those bogus fines and forcing you to be in their marketing materials? Gone. These are concrete changes that would directly shut down the predatory tactics we've been talking about.
So, let's step back. Why does any of this matter so much? Well, because the code of law that's written in these contracts is just as important as the computer code that runs our apps. What we're agreeing to in that tiny fine print has massive real-world consequences.
And that brings us back to the main point. These agreements, as they stand now, aren't balanced contracts anymore. They are, as the analysis puts it, tools for institutionalized digital theft. They're all about power, and they're specifically designed to shift wealth and control from you, the user, to the company.
Look, here's the bottom line. Every single time you click I agree, you're doing more than just accepting some terms. You are actively shaping the hidden laws that govern our digital lives. You're casting a vote on the rules for your own privacy, your own property, and your fundamental right to fight back when something goes wrong.
Which leads to the big question, doesn't it? Are your digital rights negotiable? Right now, for most of us, the answer is a hard no. We get these terms on a take-it-or-leave-it basis. But the whole point of this analysis is to ask, should they be? Maybe, just maybe, these fundamental digital rights aren't something we should ever have to sign away with a single click.